is considered active, but he's not going to be eligible to win awards because he's not fucking doing anything.
That doesn't make him a rookie.
So, by your standards, Ben Simmons' rookie season was complete zeros. He didn't play in any game, didn't do anything.
Exactly.
That statistics are not even going to do that. That's not considered your rookie year because you didn't play.
So then Pat Mahomes is a rookie.
Pat Mahomes did play.
Did he? Did
yes,
he get
at
in?
the end of the season.
Oh, okay. All right. So then any quarterback, any player who... Let's see.
No. I'm not going to have this argument with you because I already know where you're going with it.
Where am I going?
Any rookie that's sitting on... Okay, let's just take, for example, Kyle Lauletta. It would be his first season. You want to know why? Because he could actually step onto a fucking field. Ben Simmons couldn't step onto the court because it was a medical risk. There's no way that he could have actually played.
Then he shouldn't have been on the main roster.
I don't know the reason being why that was set up that way, but it doesn't change the fact that one person is capable of doing something versus another person who literally physically is incapable of playing.
And that's how he started the season. If he got injured mid-season but hadn't come in yet, I hate
You
the
would
argument.
consider that not his rookie season?
No. I would say that he would have... There was no chance he was playing, and they knew that right from the get-go.
Okay.
He shouldn't have been on the main roster.
I'm sure there's some reason that he was listed on the main roster. Maybe it was the hope that he will be back. I don't know the reasoning. Again, I don't work in the front office for an NBA team, so I don't know the reasoning that they did that. But you don't... If you have the opportunity to have an open roster spot for a player that can physically play, you would do that. It would make no sense not to do that.
I'm pretty sure, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure he was listed out for season. I think there was no hope of him coming or playing.
Again, but what I'm saying is, if he could have regulated someone to a G League and had somebody brought up or got another free agent, why wouldn't you do that? There's got to be some reason to why that happened that way. But him being physical... And it doesn't matter, because then he would have been in the G League, which he would have been doing the same damn thing as what he was doing in the NBA, which is literally sitting there. And yet, because he was in the G League during that, now it's all of a sudden different.
I get it. I know why it happened. Because the 76ers wanted him on the roster so they didn't get a decent free agent that fucks things up for them. The process.
I mean, I guess if you're going to look at it that way. I mean, I don't know. This guy had Twitters he didn't even know about. So I can't say that this thing was functioning properly. It certainly wasn't a well-oiled machine. You got extra buttons and switches in there you don't even know you have.
Oh, man. So, anyways.
It's like one of those driving instructor cars. Your wife's got a wheel on the other side. You didn't know she's been driving for the last mile.
So, for those of you who don't know, Donovan Mitchell was screwed out of the Rookie of the Year. It went to Jason Tatum. Just kidding. It went to Ben Simmons. Should have gone to Donovan Mitchell. I have a problem with Ben Simmons, and the problem is
whose number are you using?
The problem is, he is a point guard, right? That's his position.
I mean, they were using him as a point guard. I don't think he actually is a point guard. I want to say he's a small forward or shooting guard.
So if he's...
But he's better with the ball in his hands.
Okay, so if he's playing the point, shouldn't he have a jump shot?
Not necessarily. Point guards are facilitators. They're not scorers. And typically with a point guard, they're more of a drive to the basket scorer, which is exactly what he was. Shooting guard is actually in the fucking name. Point guard is running the point. You're not asking a quarterback to run the ball.
I mean, you asked Deshaun Watson to run the ball, as we are now joined by Dan O'Shea. Dan, how are you doing tonight?
Good. How are you guys?
Doing well.
Wonderful.
Doing well.
Hang on one second, Dan. you're right. Deshaun Watson is running the ball because there's no one to run the ball in Houston.
Well, that's not true. There's
Who?
Deshaun Watson.
Because I was going to say, if you said Blue, I was going to leave.
Alfred Blue is a
average.
good short yardage, tough run guy.
He's serviceable. He's not like terrible.
No, he's not terrible.
Right, but the point guard, that's what their job is. Does he need a jump shot? Obviously, before he becomes dominant. But everything else he did, defensive-wise, rebounding at that position, I mean, he was putting up numbers the entire year. Did he have to drive to get his points? You bet, because he wasn't pulling up from anywhere.
There's no threat. And I think, which is why LeBron going to Philadelphia makes sense. Who better learn a jump shot from than LeBron?
Well, he had to learn a jump shot. His range wasn't always there. He was just big, physical, and he had to develop his shot over time and made it better. That would actually help Simmons, because Simmons is almost the exact same body type. That
Exactly.
being said, Mitchell, as far as rookie of the year, he made Utah relevant. Because Utah was not going to be relevant. The most relevancy Utah has was they didn't get Gordon Hayward.
They got Ricky Rubio. Well, Ricky Rubio's an okay point guard.
Okay, relax, Minnesota.
I said okay. I didn't say he was great.
Yeah, I know, but pump the brakes.
So we're going to just recap. James Harden, MVP. Ben Simmons, Rookie of the Year. Let's move on to Coach of the Year. It wasn't, my Uncle Quinn Snyder.
No.
It wasn't Brad Stevens. It was the man who is not on the team anymore that he was last year. Dwayne Casey is your Coach of the Year. Really funny, though, is that he got fired by Toronto. So Toronto fired the Coach of the Year.
You can't even write that like that. That's just beautiful.
I kind of feel like they did it to stick it to Toronto.
I mean, kind of. I mean, it just shows. If I'm a Toronto fan, it doesn't give me faith in what the organization is doing.
No, and I had a conversation with a coworker earlier today. What it does is it reaffirms one thing in my mind, that there was hell to pay and someone had to pay it. And the team cared more about Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan than they did about the head coach.
Yeah, but arguably the head coach got you that position. Whose fault it lies that you got beat up by Cleveland is a question for the entire team as itself.
The team who quit, the players.
But you got there to this point based on the work the players put in, but also the coaching. So why would you fire somebody who got you to this point? Because what do you think is going to happen next year? If they don't respect the coach or the coach doesn't have a good game plan, they're not in that position next year.
No. So I don't understand. This isn't the first time that I've witnessed a coach being fired and then winning Coach of the Year. I don't remember how long ago it was, but back in the day, Maryland football fired their head coach Ralph Friedgen, and then Ralph Friedgen won ACC Coach of the Year. So this isn't the first time, and I'm sure it won't be the last.
No, it definitely won't, because why would things make sense with basketball?
I don't know. The next,
Well, let me say this: do you guys agree with his firing?
no.
Okay, so we're all on the same page there. It's I get being frustrated that you got dominated by LeBron, but when you're going second round into the playoffs consistently, and you're first in the weren't they first in the East?
Yes.
Or were they second?
No, they were first.
Yeah. That's not when you fire the coach. You might need to retool a couple of things, but you're right there. You're a real contender. So I think Dwayne Casey was a good contender for Coach of the Year. I'm not that surprised that he won it, and I think Toronto made a mistake.
They did. The wrong head rolled. It should have been probably Kyle Lowry, is my guess. I think DeMar DeRozan's the one that's more important in Toronto. But, the coach isn't the one that quit after that Game 1 loss. That was the entire Raptors minus Clint Capella.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it is what it is. The NBA made it a point to point out the Raptors' idiocy in this whole process. So, I mean, the NBA did something right that night.
Yeah.
So I'll give them credit there. The rest of it was a sham.
So far, I think we all agree Dwayne Casey should have been Coach of the Year.
Yep.
I mean, if not him, Brad Stevens was a good pick. Quinn Snyder, whatever. But I think Dwayne Casey was the right pick.
Definitely deserving.
Maybe LeBron.
Yeah.
Good call.
Le coach, as I think he likes to be called.
Probably. Who won Clipboard Holder of the Year? That was Ty Lue, right?
Oh, absolutely. No doubt. Wasn't even a contest.
Not even close. But anyways, the next one that I disagree with, Defensive Player of the Year. How the hell was that not AD? How did Anthony Davis and the Brow not win Defensive Player of the Year? I'm not taking anything away from Rudy Gobert. He's good. He's a good basketball player. But Anthony Davis is making it cool to play defense again.
I mean, that's what he does. He's a very big, imposing human being, and he's not going to make your life easy. I
just want to point out really quickly, didn't mean to cut you off, Tony. The guy who just won the episode of Jeopardy won with $1,129. The person who comes in third place gets $1,000. The person who comes in second place gets $2,000. He got less money than the second place player did. But he won.
Still wins because he was the last one standing.
But he gets,
that is kind of contradictory.
He gets almost $900 less.
Yeah, but he gets to come back tomorrow. He gets to try and make more.
And get wrecked by someone else.
Funny as hell.
All right. So going back to what we were saying, Rudy Gobert, Defensive Player of the Year. I have nothing against Rudy Gobert, but it should have been Anthony Davis.
Mm-hmm.
Anthony Davis, without Kawhi Leonard in the league, is like the epitome of defense. Right?
Agreed.
Yeah, Gobert's a great defender though, so I don't hate the pick. They do, I think, if I'm remembering correctly, kind of tend to pick a DPOY that is, more defensive, minded solely, kind of, rather than some of those two-way players. So that might have influenced the pick, because Gobert is, he's okay on offense, but he's really good on defense, whereas Davis is really good on both ends.
That is 100% factual. The last time the last three awards, the MVP, the rookie, and coach, I'm less confused by and was either in agreement with or angry at. I'm just confused by Rudy. I get that he's a very good defender. He is. Like I said, I don't think it's necessarily a bad choice. I just don't think it was the right choice. And I'm confused as to why Anthony Davis got absolutely no votes for MVP. He is not the Defensive Player of the Year. So, he's being, I don't want to say punished, but he's not being rewarded for being the most dynamic player outside of LeBron in the NBA this year.
I mean, he is extremely talented, and I feel like he's overlooked because one, where he plays, and two, he's not very outspoken about anything. He just kind of goes about his business, which is extremely admirable, but in senses like this where voting is required, he doesn't jump to the forefront of voters' minds. Although he should. I mean, if they're basing this off basketball talent and merit, That's how it should be.